Welcome to Seattle Public Utilities Ask Evelyn Live, the ultimate round of 8 for Recycle Madness. I'm your host, Becca Fong. This month, we are taking a page from the college basketball playbook, and we are pitting the most maddening items to recycle against each other to figure out who will be the reigning champion. You will notice that our fantastic host, Gemini Davis, is this week, and we miss him dearly, but he will be back next week, and Pat and I will do our best not to mess things up too bad. Hi, Pat.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. Missing Gemini, but we'll hold it down.
All right. I think you're right. We got to hold down the fort here. Hey, it's Recycle Madness, everybody. Hope you got your bracket ready.
Absolutely. Thank you guys all so much who sent your brackets in by March 9th. We are going to be reaching out to you, those of you who sent them to us, with some fantastic SPU Recycle swag. So super fun. It's been nice to kind of look at some of the brackets and see how folks have done. But it's not about, who predicts the winner. It's really about learning along the way. So thanks for playing with us. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So here we are. It's time for the Ultimate 8, as we're calling them.
Yes.
We're going to get to it. There's 16 more. There's 16 items on our bracket as we go into this show. And when we finish this show today, we'll be down to the Ultimate 8 in the Recycle Madness bracket.
Absolutely. This has been some really good matchups. As you guys saw from last week's show, it's been really interesting, even though, we had a couple of upsets in there, which were really interesting. And Recycle Madness, like everything on Ask Evelyn, is powered by your questions. So we rank these items based on how many times they've been looked up on the Where Does It Go tool. You have asked us these questions in the Ask Evelyn inbox. Back in the before times when you used to just physically ask us questions when we were out and about, or even occasionally write us the occasional letter. I still get those sometimes.
I love that when we get those letters, Becca. I love a handwritten letter from customers.
I know.
It's such a throwback.
It is. It is. We love that.
So we do.
Coming, folks. Keep them coming.
Yeah, keep them coming. In whatever mode you want to get us the question, send us the question. So yeah, we're into our 4 recycle regions. Okay, yep. Remember we've got the paper region, we've got the textiles and housewares, we've got plastics and metal and electrical. So we've organized all of these items into the 4 different recycle regions, and we're going to jump into Recycle Madness Ultimate 8 right now.
All right, which region are we visiting first, Pat?
Let's do plastic. Plastic
all
first.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
So
what we have.
Matchup.
Yeah.
So last week's matchup, who did we have?
Last week we had the clamshell versus the foam block.
There we go. Okay.
So it was quite a matchup, but the winning in this week in that category is the clamshell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not a big surprise here. I mean, number 1 seed clamshell. So we'll be talking about more of that as that moves on into the round of Ultimate 8. Styrofoam block, though, I mean, this is a good contender, right, Pat? You talked a little bit about this before. What are some options to recycle this baby?
Right. So styrofoam block, it's got, for us in SPU service area, we're absolutely benefiting from a new at your service pickup. It's a special item pickup. You do have to go online and request that. You got to send in the request so that the collection route knows that your household has a bag of foam block available, and you want to write foam on the bag or something like that, just to indicate it's not to be picked up as extra garbage on your collection day. And it's also something that one can order online, correct?
Absolutely.
That's right.
So if you go to seattle.gov/special items, you'll be able to schedule your foam block pickup, which is fantastic. And it all gets condensed down, which is really cool. We talked about that in a previous episode, and they condense those blocks down. And then they can really effectively recycle those. So that's pretty fantastic. All right. What about last week, the other plastics region matchup from last week, Pat?
In the other plastic section, we had the plastic envelope up against the plastic bucket.
Oh, yeah.
And this was another one where you had a number 6 seed against a number 7 seed. Pretty tight race, pretty tight competition here. But winning out this week is the plastic envelope.
Yep. I mean, even though, plastic envelope was a number 6 seed, it's not surprising, right? Like we talked a lot about, and we will continue to talk about it next week, about kind of a lot of the resources that have gone into that. Plastic bucket, though, I can understand why this is maddening. It's got this metal handle on here that can be confusing. But Pat, what's really great about the plastic bucket is where ultimately can people recycle this?
Oh, I mean, this is a blue bucket. This is a blue bin item here. Empty, clean, and dry. Goes right in. The metal handle is not a problem with the recycle center. It's not ideal, I'll say that, but it's not a problem. So any kind, and this is any kind of size bucket. I mean, we photograph and we show here on our card this particular 5-gallon bucket kind of thing. But a lot of people have different types of buckets too. They have, paint buckets, or they have pickle buckets, or there's different like commercial grade stuff. There's cleaning buckets. There's buckets that you might call a bucket something that you get a large portion of ice cream out of or something. So there's a lot of different plastic buckets out there. The metal handle is not always the situation, but yeah, a plastic bucket, it's a great rigid plastic item that can go right into the blue bin as long as it's empty and clean and dry.
Sure, absolutely. This mixed material just wasn't enough to knock out plastic envelope.
That's right.
All right, plastic bucket, maybe next year.
All right, we're moving into the next recycle region of textiles and housewares. And this time we have up against each other the shoes versus throw pillow, right?
Yeah, totally.
So as we see, the winning item for this one is shoes. Shoes is going to move forward. It's more maddening to our customers than throw pills.
Yep, absolutely.
Both these items are great for our thrift community, our community of thrift service providers, I should say. Thrift stores, these are items that they can turn around. I mean, they can take an item that is in good condition and resell it, or as a textile through this thread cycle program, they can find commodity markets to recycle these materials.
Absolutely. So throw pillows, the reason, they do have some mixed materials. It can be a little bit confusing. It's not like a straight up, like fully cloth textile, which I think is what, helps people understand like what is participating in the thread cycle program. But throw pillows, even with the stuffing there, not quite enough maddening confusion to have it move on to the next round.
Yeah. And, this is a great picture of shoes here. There's so many different types of shoes, right? But really, all types of shoes are accepted and often resold through our thrift partners. So
absolutely. All right, what's our next
next category? So the next the next matchup was the rugs versus light bulbs.
Yep.
And the winning item in this one is light bulbs. Light bulbs moves forward.
So that's not surprising. We'll talk a lot more about that next week. Rugs, again, there's some mixed material in here, not necessarily clicking immediately that this is part of our thread cycle program, which is why it made it to the championship and made it this far. But ultimately, not enough to keep it as a high contender in Recycle Madness.
Yeah, it's maddening. I think carpets are probably more maddening, but those are not accepted at thrift stores. So rugs, we're talking about rugs, entry rugs, area rugs, those kinds of rugs that you would have. And often, a lot of the items, rugs are reusable. People will purchase used rugs. It's very common. So
absolutely, totally.
All right.
So, sorry, rugs. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. That's right.
Maybe next year.
All right, we're moving to the paper region. The recycle region we call paper. And our first pairing in the paper region, coming from last week, is the Tetra Pak, which is
#1 seed.
That's right, going up against the paperback books.
Yep.
So this week, this matchup, Tetra Pak moves forward.
Tetra not Pak surprising.
More maddening, much more maddening than a paperback book to our customers.
Tetra Pak, if we think about it, it has invested a lot of resources into being a maddening item, right? Yeah. Like you've got like all kinds of different, like with the sports analogy, different kinds of programs that are being invested here. We got the plastic coating, we got the spout, we got some color printing. There's some metal like foil liner in there. Like that is confusing for sure.
Not to mention we're calling it Tetra Pak, which is such an odd term. It's a milk carton, it's a juice box, and that's what Tetra Paks are. So
totally, or aseptic carton for all you deep recycle nerds out there. So, but paperback books.
Not moving forward, paperback books.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting about it, definitely maddening because you've got the hardcover, you've got some glue, you got a lot of paper, so you get kind of potentially 3 different, materials mixed in here, which we appreciate that we've gotten lots of questions because you guys are amazing and judicious recycler nerds.
Right.
We're with you. You found your people, and that's why you've asked, right? But Pat, what can folks do with this?
Well, it's a fully recyclable item. It's like a big magazine. That's kind of how we view it in the recycle business. I mean, it doesn't have the binding spine that a hardback book would have. These paperback books are fully recyclable. They go right into the system. They shred them up. There's no, odd hardback covers, or the spine may have fabric in it. I mean, hardback books are a whole different category.
Oh,
and
man.
by the way, hardback books should go to your thrift store as well. They may or may not resell it. They also have commodity broker channels to get rid of that product in a different way. So paperback books, blue bin item, goes down, loses this week in the maddening department because the Tetra Packs are going to be more maddening. We'll talk more about Tetra Pak next week.
Man. Yeah. Tetra Pak's got some big game in this department. So absolutely. All
so
right.
Tetra Pak is going to go up against one of these two items, right?
That's
we've
right.
We've got the carryout box and we've got the bakery box.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
And again, these pictures, if you were going to go by these pictures alone, I would say the bakery box is more maddening, but the carryout box is what we find in our data, a more maddening item according to lookups and questions and queries. So bakery box moves forward. It's a very maddening item. There are a lot of different bakery boxes out there, certainly, but carryout box moves forward.
Yep. We got a question to the Ask Evelyn inbox this week about a plastic coated paper item. So there's a lot of different kinds out there.
I think it has to do, I'm sorry, just on the carryout box, I think it has to do with the coatings and the markings and the compostables and all that. Whereas a bakery box, pretty straightforward. They're all very similar. Some are pink, some are white, some are brown, but it's the window, you know, we don't want to see the window. If you can peel the window out, that's great. Obviously no ribbon either would be good. And the food.
Absolutely. Well, and I think for bakery box, which makes it less maddening, is we're always talking about empty, clean, dry.
Yeah.
Right. So a bakery box is going to have like donuts or muffins or something like that. It's a little bit easier to keep this kind of item clean.
Yeah.
Versus something that had Thai food in it. Right.
I agree.
That's where we get a lot of questions. So bakery box, you know, was bringing some big game here with the plastic window and carrying some food, but not enough.
I mean, you know, when you think about the things you just mentioned, this matchup, it was close, but carryout box wins this matchup. So carryout box will move forward and be up against Tetra Pak next week. We'll move on now to the recycle region we call the metal and electrical region. Absolutely. And our first pairing in that region is the now infamous gas canister against the television.
Yes, absolutely. So, and who was our winner from last week's matchup, Pat?
Our winner is the gas canister. Gas canisters, more maddening than televisions for most customers. More lookups on the gas canister. TVs, you know, we've been at it. I should have looked it up. The eCycle Washington program has been in place, which provides free recycling of all televisions in our state to all consumers. And there's many places to drop off, from thrift stores to electronic stores to, you know, there's drop-off events that come up, recycle events. So there's a lot of opportunities. And I think it's pretty easy. And a lot of the folks who sell TVs, they know exactly how to tell their customers where to go with their TVs. They know the local drop-off options. So those are some thoughts. You? Totally.
I think two things I wanted to mention about televisions, which I think is really cool, is that, you know, they're made out of a lot of different things.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that can be kind of confusing. Like, are they actually being recycled? Are they being disposed of? But what I've learned about the eCycle program is that they actually break these apart in a safe way. And then each of the different materials is actually separated and then brokered as a separate commodity to be recycled. And I think that you guys can rest assured, if you're using an eCycle Washington provider, which we partner with for the special item pickup, as well as a collection event that's happening in West Seattle this Thursday with our partners Waste Management, partnering with eCycle Washington participants, all of that stuff is actually being reclaimed for recycling, which I think is really cool. Absolutely. So, and then one other thing really, go ahead, Pat.
No, I was just gonna say that, eCycle Washington is the agency kind of created through the legislation that provides that the manufacturers of the televisions and computers pay to support this recycle program. So it's really, you know, we talked about this, I think, last week as well, but the idea that televisions and computers go through the eCycle Washington program, funded by the manufacturers through the legislation. It's a great model for extended producer responsibility. That's a great system.
For sure. And then one quick plug to support your drivers out there. A lot of televisions are coming in really big boxes, and we're seeing a lot of really big boxes out there.
That's true.
And this is a request straight from your lovely drivers who are working hard out there every day, is when you have those boxes, one, remove all of the packaging from the inside. Those foam blocks, like we talked about, you can get those picked up for a special item pickup for free. And then break those big boxes down, because it makes it a lot easier for the drivers to pick those up and put them into the truck if they do not have any other packing materials in them and they are smaller. So
Yeah, if you're getting a 72-inch TV, let's see if you can fold it in half. You know, separate the box, fold the cardboard in half, give the driver a little help.
Exactly. They will greatly appreciate it. So, Pat, before we move on to the final matchup from last week,
Yes.
we have a question that says, how about plastic coffee cups? Do they go in the recycle? So,
yes.
What do you think?
Yeah. So, and I can pull up an image of a cup maybe real quick, but yeah,
Here we go.
cups are recyclable in Seattle. Boom.
Yes.
So all plastic cups, regardless of the contents,
Yep.
paper cups and plastic cups are all accepted as recyclable in Seattle. Seattle's agreement with our recycle center is that a cup is a rigid plastic container, just like a bucket, a tub, you know, other things, bottles. So they will accept those plastic items. There can be a variety of resin numbers on that cup. It doesn't matter, no matter what the number. And as long as it's plastic, you can put it in the recycle bin. The one plastic cup or coffee cup that's out there that might not be ideal to put in the blue cart is the number 7 PLA on the bottom. And that means it's made from the corn resin. It's a compostable cup. So if you see a clear plastic cup that you think is plastic and it says compostable on it, that is not recyclable. That goes in the yard cart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just found that note. All paper cups, regardless of whether they're compostable marked, whatever they're lined with, it doesn't matter. All paper cups are recyclable, and only the ones that say compostable are compostable.
Absolutely. And then, of course, everything recyclable needs to be empty, clean, and dry.
Nice.
So, absolutely. All right, our last matchup. This was such a good one. This was such
final
a good
matchup. This is
God,
this is the category that people are talking a lot about around the office. So it's in the metal electrical region. Here we are, toaster versus cell phone.
Oh my gosh.
And who's going to win this one? This was a close race. This is let's look at this one. This is number 6 seed versus the number 2 seed. Sometimes those seedings don't lie because cell phone moves forward.
Man, I know, right? Yeah. This was definitely a huge upset, right? Because we had toaster, which was number 6. Against aerosol can number 3, just to revisit a little bit.
Right.
But you know, I mean, we're getting it in real time. Like I just said, we got a question in the Ask Evelyn inbox about paper, plastic coated paper carryout this week. Right. So keep those questions coming, folks. That really helps drive the championship and where things move to advance. So, toaster.
I think the toaster, toaster loses this matchup, but we get a lot of questions about kitchen appliances, and that's part of how the metrics kind of line up. Toaster is a representative item for that category of materials on the Where Does It Go lookup tool.
Yes.
So when you have something that plugs into the wall and you're using it in the kitchen to do blending or toasting or whatever. That's all this category. And that's what's a little maddening about the Recycle Madness bracket is that we, next year when we do the bracket, we'll have the fans will be a little more informed, I think, about how this works. So toaster moved forward, but it doesn't move forward this time. But it's a fully recyclable item, especially one like this photo that's super heavy in the metal department. We like that.
Absolutely. So, if you want to be able to take it apart, I actually had a metal toaster like that. I cut the cord off. Took as much plastic off as possible, put that in the blue bin. You can also take advantage of the special item box, which is a service that we offer. You have a 2x2x2 box that you can put all kinds of different items in. Cell phone, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about on Recycle Madness can go into that box. So your toaster will go squarely into that. There's
probably, I didn't count yet, but I bet you there's probably 8 items on here that could go in the special item pickup box. So there's a lot of maddening items could be handled with one service request.
Yes, absolutely. So you guys should definitely check that out. All right. So we've got some good matchups coming up for this week. And make sure that you guys join us next week to find out who moves forward through the round of Ultimate 8. But this is a good reminder that, again, this show is run on your questions. Recycle Madness is powered by your questions. Keep looking up items. Thank you all for being so judicious and being fantastic recycle nerds, because we can tell because you're looking all these things up because you want to make sure that you're doing it right. So we really, really appreciate that. And we will be reaching out to those of you who have submitted your brackets. If you guys want to share how your brackets have gone with us on social media, please, please, please feel free. We would love to hear. We've been hearing around the office too. Some people got, who are professional waste nerds, have had some strange upsets. They were like, wow, we had no idea. So.
And next week we'll have Gemini back, which will be great. He'll have the big board. Okay, so next week we'll be, we'll have the Ultimate 8 on the board. We got clamshells versus plastic envelopes. We've got shoes versus light bulb. We got Tetra Pak versus carryout box, and then gas canister versus cell phone. So those are the matchups moving forward.
It's getting tight,
It's
folks.
getting
so
to
we
it.
really are going to be interested to see how that goes. So I also want to remind you, we are having the first of our collection events this week in West Seattle at South Seattle College. We're partnering with the West Seattle Chamber. Bring all of your harder to recycle items that aren't necessarily accepted in your blue cart. You can bring them to that event for free. It's going to be from 9 to noon, and we'll have a link in our show notes. Or you can always go to seattle.gov/beyond-the-cart for items that get disposed of beyond your carts. For more information about our collection events. And then also check out the blog, which is where we're going to keep people updated on the progression of Recycle Madness Championship. You can see the updated bracket, compare yours, and that's at yourservice.seattle.gov. So check those out. And with that, we're going to wrap up this week's Recycle Madness. Thank you all for tuning in, keeping your questions coming. You will have Gemini back next week.
Yes.
Hopefully, Pat and I kept you informed. And thank you guys so much. And with that, I'm Becca Fong, and life's simpler with less stuff.
And I'm Pat Kaufman. Remember to recycle right. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.